Increasing customer demand from communicating sustainability is the thing that we all look forward to. And at the same time, it's worth remembering this is the hardest thing to do. I'm showing it to you as the second activity or the second area where you can make improvements, not because it's the second thing you're going to do, but because it's something that all of you are asking for all the time. So just bear with me. It's important that besides think of how to increase demand, we also think about the many other things that are going to be much more cost effective. We know that increasing demand or creating new customers costs 5 times more money in marketing effort than it is to get a current customer to come back and repeat. So bear with me and let's see what we can do together. The advice I'm giving you now mostly relates to leisure travel. It's worth remembering that business travel and leisure travel are very different. We can talk a little bit about business travel if you want now, before we get into the examples from leisure travel anyway. In business travel, we now know that carbon footprint is something that is really important to companies and that they need to reduce the carbon footprint throughout. We've now seen more data being made available through Booking.com, Skyscanner, Google Travel, and many other platforms where business travelers will get to see the actual carbon footprint of some of their choices. And we know that many of the travel agents that are being used by business purposes are now using that information. They're feeding that information into their systems. And the travel agents are starting to take decisions about where they'll recommend you to go or which suppliers you should use based amongst other reasons, for the carbon footprint that they have. Simply because that corporate organization at the end of the year will have to communicate how much carbon they have, they're responsible for as a result of their travel choices. So while on the one hand, when we're looking at sustainability communications for business markets, essentially it's all about carbon at this stage. We know that also the communication of sustainability for conferences and events, which often is also business related, is much more about the corporate image that your company is trying to give at that particular moment in time and for that particular event. So it's very often the companies that realize and kind of remember that they need to portray an image of being a green, dynamic, inclusive, equal, a diverse organization. And they try to showcase those values through the venues that they have chosen for their annual general meeting and their events. So do remember that those markets have got very specific needs. And if you want, we can talk at some other point about how we can manage those. Besides those, I've got 5 more generic issues that I want to share with you, and I hope you find them of use. Okay, so let's look first at how you try to be unique. We know that customers are really wanting to purchase products that are more sustainable. The main challenge that we've got is that very often we communicate in a way that is really, really poor. Simply displaying a logo that says, I happen to have this particular certificate that says I'm sustainable is not going to be enough. We'll have to do a lot more. The uniqueness here comes from showing a logo or showing a communication that really has significance for customers. So let me just take you to one particular example. The Taste Our Best example from that basically runs in Scotland and Visit Scotland has been supportive of, has helped us a lot because we know that customers really want food that tastes better. Particularly when you go on holiday, one of the things you're looking for is to actually be able to taste that you are in a destination and you're buying the best quality food. So we've seen the customers are willing to pay 15% more for Scottish food. And we've also seen that the businesses that promote these kind of labels tend to have up to 20% higher sales in volume. There's a little bit both elements there, okay? The businesses that already sell well, they tend to sell well because they were using good products. And then the moment that we use these logos and we use ways of kind of enhancing the value of the products that we've got, we have also then seen that that helps us drive further, the demand from those customers. We know that being seen is really important, and there's a variety of logos that exist out there. This is, just 4 of them. There are many, many of them. So the reason why the logo is going to help you is not because the logo itself will sell, but because by displaying the logo, you're saying to the customer, everything else I tell you about sustainability, you can trust it because there is a third-party independent organization that is vouching for the fact that things I'm saying to you are true. So just don't be shy, okay? Don't just display the logo and hope that the logo will do the job for you. Remember that the logo is just the beginning of, the messages you need to provide. And here is where you provide that backing, that trust, that then allows the customer to say, okay, I'm ready. I'm open to listen to whatever you're trying to say. The logo in itself, definitely not enough. You also need to be found, and I found many of the companies that promote sustainability, they seem to believe that because they're very worthy companies, because they're trying to do a good thing, they don't have to spend as much money and effort into their marketing materials. Very often I find that the websites of companies that work in sustainability practices tend to be of lower quality than the companies that maybe they put less effort in being sustainable and more effort into the marketing side. So you need to invest time and money in your search engine optimization activities. And you need to make sure that you also get others to talk well about you. So one of the good things about being a sustainable company is that you will find third parties that want to talk about you, for example, newspapers and social media sites, because essentially you're providing them really interesting content to talk about. When it comes to SEO, for example, we know that changing your photos regularly, that using certain colors, that will be appealing to your particular target market, all those things will work really well. And so the being found, the being appealing to your market really depends on who you're trying to attract. We know, for example, that darker colors, the darker greens, darker blues, tend to attract customers who are over the age of 50. Whereas customers that are more on the yellow and red spectrum tend to attract younger people. And the reds and the yellows work very well with messages that are much more dynamic, where there's much more activity in the photos. Whereas the greens and the blues tend to work very well with messages that are calmer sort of messages. The moment you start to mix messages and colors and you're sending them to different customer markets, your customer ends up being confused. And you may say, oh no, it's not quite like this. But we've done quite a bit of research looking at how this actually happens and how the confusing messages for the brain essentially end up saying, this product is not for me. You also need to be remembered. And by these, what I'm trying to say is very often the website messages about sustainability are really, really boring. They read like you prepare them for the environmental police. And very often this is the case, right? You prepare them for certification program of somebody who's going to be vouching for you. And as a result of that, you didn't really understand that you need to change those messages the moment you write them for a consumer. Okay, so just a few days ago, I was looking at the website and I found this message in it. We will minimize waste by evaluating operations and ensuring they're fit for purpose. You're thinking, are you for real? How many customers do you think are going to be booking with you because you write this? Again, this is a message for Greenpeace and Amnesty International. This is not a message that actually resonates with the average customer that will come to you. So tone down your messages. Use a tone of voice that's much more human, much more direct, much more useful to the customer that makes them feel like you're talking to them, not somebody very different to them. Also think about the kind of messages you'll use. They're much more sticky messages. And by these, messages that not only people will like, but they will share. And by doing so, they will be able to reach out other customers that will not already be in your direct customer database. Try to use messages also that tell me not only what's just happened in your property, but also what's going to happen in the near future. By these, what I'm trying to say is your Instagram, your Facebook messages should tell me what will happen in your destination in 2 weeks' time or in 3 weeks' time, for which you may still have availability. Don't put a message there that says, this is what happened last night, because essentially you're saying to the customer, you missed it. You'll have to probably wait another 12 months to find that same event or that same opportunity.